Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to do a few examples talking about scatter plots. Now, scatter plots, it's one of those terms where the definition is almost in the term. It's a lot of points that are scattered across a graph. So we have this table here. Our x coordinates are the stretch distance of, maybe they're talking about a spring here, and the y coordinate is the weight. Alright, so then it's just a matter of plotting these points and then looking and see if we can see something about the trend. So the first dot we'll have 2, 1. That would be approximately right here. 3.5, 2, you go right 3.5 and then up to 2. 4, 2, we go right 4 and up to 2. 4.5, 3, you go right 4.5 and up to 3. And then 5.5, 5, you go right 5.5 and up to 5. 6, 6, be about here. 7.5, 8, up here. And then lastly 9, 9. 9's way out here. I'm off the graph a little bit, but approximately here. So you can see the dots are scattered. Notice they almost make a straight line. They almost make a straight line. In fact, we could make a line that goes through most of them. It's known as the trend line or the line of best fit. That line is important because it helps us make predictions. It helps us find estimated values somewhere within the range of the dots. Let's look at this next one here. We have a couple of new vocab terms here to talk about. Scatter plot, obviously there's sort of an upward trend to it. And we have what's called a cluster. Cluster is a collection of dots that sort of cluster around. I would say this right here. Let's make that a little thinner. This right here seems to be the cluster, and the question is asking for the range of the cluster. What's the range of the cluster in this scatter plot? Now, whenever you talk about range, you're talking about y values. So what you do for the range, go to the bottom of the cluster and then look at the y coordinate that corresponds to the bottom. Notice that's at 40,000 here. Go to the top of the cluster. That's the upper echelon, the upper part of the cluster, upper part of the range. So the range here of the cluster seems to be 40,000 to 60,000. Now, this question isn't asking for it, but the opposite would be true if you're talking about domain. The word domain refers to the x values. So I'll just illustrate the domain here real quickly. The x value is the leftmost part of the cluster and the rightmost part of the cluster. And if they were talking about what's the domain of the cluster, you would say between 6 and 12. Alright, our last example is going to focus on outliers. It says Samantha constructed a scatter plot. She realizes she needs to add one more point, which will be an outlier. Which of the following orders of pairs does she need to plot? Okay, so we're going to plot each of these, and then we're going to see which one would be an outlier. An outlier is a point that is way away from the trend of the data. So let's check out 1014. If we go 1014, that would be right here. That looks like it's within the trend of the data. 19.9. 19.9 would be approximately here. Still within the trend, the grouping of the data, if you will. 4, 15. Right here. Okay, so I'm thinking D is going to be our outlier, and let's see if it is. 8, 6. If we do 8, 6, yep, and look at that. Here's 8, 6 here in yellow. Let me accentuate that a little bit. Yeah, 8, 6, our outlier seems to be the one that's kind of away from most of the data. That's what you call an outlier. That is all. Thank you for watching.